Hi Gangster Green and Everleigh, my name is Tony Harrison and I absolutely love animals, especially reptiles. But reptiles are a little bit different to other animals in the way that they are cold-blooded. And what I mean by that is not that they have freezing cold blood running through their body. A lot of people don't understand what it actually means. You see, us humans, if today was a very, very cold day and then you touched your arm, we have this special inbuilt heater inside our body. But reptiles don't have that heater. They need to go and lay in the sun on a hot roof or a hot road, somewhere warm to bring their body temperature up. Once they have made themselves all nice and warm, then they can go and do their daily business. And their daily business is super simple. All reptiles ever want to do is get some breakfast and not become breakfast, because there are other animals out there that will love to eat them and they're called predators. Now some reptiles are really, really small and cute. Some are massive. Some come out at daytime, some come out at night time. You'll get reptiles that live on the ground, in the roof and in the trees, and even some that live in the water. So what I've done for you guys today is brought a handful of my friends along to show you how they've all got really cool tricks and really cool weapons to help them get through their day. All of these critters here, under normal circumstances at home, you'd be able to touch and cuddle and do whatever you have to do, except for the first lady that I'm going to bring out. And there's a very special reason for that, and I'll explain as we go. Now her name is Frederica, but you guys probably know her better as Fredo. Fredo is an extremely cute green tree frog. Have a look at this young lady. Now you can see she has massive eyes. That's a sign that she's nocturnal. When an animal has fairly big eyes, it's an indication they can see in the dark. Us humans only have little eyes. We need to turn lights on so we can see where we're going. Now she spends her night time hanging around just outside the windows of your house. And she's got this big sticky fleshy tongue and grabs all the bugs and the moths and stuff and stops them from getting into your house, which is pretty cool. Now she does not have a protective shell or sharp teeth or sharp claws. But she does have a pretty cool trick that stops her from becoming breakfast to all the animals out there. And that is her camouflage. And what camouflage means is to blend in with the background. So if she was having a little nap in my hat here, every bird of prey, every snake and every lizard would spot her, and she'd become breakfast in 5 seconds flat. So what she normally does is tries to find something a little closer to her colour, like these plants here. She'd be sound asleep in these plants and you guys would be running amok in the backyard and you wouldn't even notice her. You'd walk straight past her. Now, the reasons why we should not touch her is because of the way she drinks. Now she drinks very differently to any other animal. Us humans, when we're thirsty, we lift our water up to our mouth. Your cat or your dog, when he's thirsty, goes up to a bowl of water and laps it up. But this young lady drinks her water through her skin. So if any of you guys had perfume on your hands, or if you lads were mowing the lawns and you had petrol on your fingers, or if I still had makeup on my hands where I put makeup on this morning, then I touched her, she would absorb that and that would poison her. So if you ever see a frog in your backyard, it means that your backyard is really, really clean. And if you decide you want to touch that frog, just wet your hands with plain water. Then that's all it is that she's going to absorb. It's not going to hurt her. Now, while I walk around her, how come she's not falling off my hand? Because she nearly did fall off my hand. She has the most massive suction cups that she can climb straight up a glass window if she had to. Even Spider-Man would be jealous, which is pretty cool. Now this young lady is just about to jump then, and I stopped her. Guess what noise she makes? Whenever I ask that question, everyone does that burp, burp, burp. But guess what? This is Mrs. Frederica. She doesn't make any noise at all. It's actually Mr. Fredo that makes all the noise. So just as it's becoming night time, especially if it's going to rain, Mr. Fredo will come out of the downpipe and he'll go burp, burp, burp. And Mrs. Fredo goes, there he is over there. If I stay still, he won't be able to find me. But if she wants to catch up with a noisy boy, she knows exactly where he is, which is pretty cool, isn't it? Shall we put her away and get the next critter out? I think so. Now the next young lady I'm going to bring out is a critter that everybody loves. Her name is, whoopsie daisy, her name is Stinky. Now Stinky is a pretty cool critter. Stinky is a freshwater turtle. Here in Australia we have two different types of freshwater turtle. We have the short neck and we have the long neck. What do you think she might be, a short neck or a long neck? A long neck, very good. Now she spends most of her day in the water. Because of this, each toe is very, very webbed. It's like having a set of flippers on the end of each leg. So when she's in the water, she can swim quite fast. But do you remember I said reptiles are cold-blooded and they need to get warm before they do their daily business? If she spends most of her day in a cold pond, how do you suppose it is that she gets warm to do her daily business? See these claws on her toes? Each one of those claws help her climb up out of the water onto a rock or a log. If she sits in the sun for a little while, once she's made herself all nice and warm, then she plops back into the water and she swims around and she eats all the plants and the seaweed and whatnot that you get in the pond. Because of this, she does not have teeth like you or me, or sharp teeth like your cat or dog. She's just got one blade on the bottom jaw and one blade on the top jaw. It's like having a nice little set of scissors that she can take perfect bite-sized pieces out of that plant. But, do you want to hear something bad about Stinky? every now and then when a turtle's climbing up onto the rock or log, they slip, they land on their back, and they can't flip back over, and the sun comes out and cooks them, or all the predators can get them. But long-necked turtles have a fantastic trick. Watch this. Let's pretend she's climbing up onto her rock or log, and oopsie daisy, over you go. She's stuck. Here comes an eagle, and a cat, and a dog. Well done, young lady. Beautiful. She can flip over no worries. Other turtles, they have a little bit more difficulty doing that. Now guys, this is full speed ahead. If I was an animal planning on eating her, she'd be pretty easy to catch, wouldn't she? But she has this fantastic trick that stops us from eating her. And that is, us humans have all the soft mushy stuff on the outside and our skeleton on the inside. This young lady has all the soft mushy stuff on the inside, and listen to this, her skeleton on the outside. So if she gets frightened, an animal, cat, dog, whatever it might be, comes along, she'll pull her head and her legs and everything into that shell. And that cat or dog will forget about it and leave. But every now and then, that animal that's giving her a hard time does not give up. It keeps giving her a hard time. Why do you suppose her name is Stinky? Yeah, I guess you're right, she does smell a little bit bad, but she's got a gland under this armpit and a gland under that armpit. And just like a skunk, if she gets really frightened, she looks at that predator and goes, you asked for it, mate. There you go. And that predator goes, yuck, you stink. You've been out in the sun way too long, I don't want to eat you. Now, this young lady, you can see she has little eyeballs like you and me, so clearly she does her business at daytime. And her eyes and her nose and her mouth are all up on the tip of her face. So when she comes up for a breath of fresh air, she doesn't have to expose all of her body to all the animals that may have intentions to eat her, which is pretty cool. Now I might put her away and get out the next critter. We've done the frog, we've done the turtle. What other animal do you think there might be? Most people straight away pipe up and go, snake, crocodile. But what about the good old lizards? Here in Australia we have many different types of lizards. We have geckos, we have skinks, we have dragons, and when I say dragons I don't mean the dragons you see on TV with wings and flames, a different type of dragon. And we also have goannas. Now the next young lady I'm about to bring out is one of my favourite reptiles, and there's two reasons why she's my favourite. One is she's just like me, she's short, she's fat, she can't run very fast. And the other reason is she was one of the first reptiles that I ever had anything to do with. Now this particular young lady, she's a very, very common skink. Most of you guys will have one in your backyard, and if you haven't seen one before, it won't be long until you do. Let's see if you can work out what sort of a skink she might be when I bring her up near my face. She'll give you a hint in about 3 seconds, remember? Here we go, 3, 2, oh no, 2 seconds, look at that. This is Goldie, the blue-tongue lizard. Why do you suppose she called her blue tongue? Because she's got a blue tongue, bit of a trick question, isn't it? Now, she spends her daytime, that's why she's only got little eyeballs like you and me, she doesn't have big eyes to help her see in the dark. Spends her daytime cruising around eating snails and slugs. Ugh, how gross is that? To you and me that might be gross, but hey, Mum and Dad spend a lot of time and money on the gardens, making the gardens look beautiful, and the snails and slugs eat the garden. So I guess she does you a favour by eating all the snails and slugs in the backyard. But you want to hear something bad about Goldie? Who here's got a cat or a dog? Well, in the afternoon or evening, your family go to feed that cat or dog, and that cat or dog comes running over for a cuddle, and then turns around and goes, where did my breakfast go? I don't remember eating my breakfast. You can just about bet you've got a blue tongue living behind the shed or under the decking, watching and waiting from a distance, waiting for that cat or dog to turn its back. As soon as it does, she'll go and steal the dog food and the cat food. Now, see these short stumpy legs? That's the indication that she does not run fast. Normally animals that run fast have got really long legs so they can get moving quickly. She has this blue tongue that she keeps poking out. Why do you suppose that might be? Well, us humans, we've got a sense of smell that's only so strong. So when we come home from school, we go, all right, Mum's got something cooking. But can you imagine being able to walk in the front door and go, marinated chicken wings, garlic rissoles, yes, and ice cream with chocolate topping. Her tongue tells her exactly what's going on. Also, she doesn't have a protective shell or sharp teeth or sharp claws. So if a dog comes and gives her a hard time, she'll open that mouth and go, ah, and hopefully frighten that dog away. And if that doesn't work, she can drop her tail. And all the nerves in that tail will make it wiggle violently, and that dog will become, Goldie, can you sit still? And Goldie will sneak away and get a chance to live another day. But guess what the amazing part is? She can grow her tail back. Imagine that. My arm fell off, doesn't matter, grow another one later. Now, this young lady, you can see those holes there? That's her ears, so she can hear everything that's going on. As I said earlier, her eyes are only small, so she can only see in the daytime. And she has little nostrils on the tip of her nose, so that's pretty cool. Let's put her away and get out her cousin, who is also a skink, but a really cool skink. Her name is Mrs. Fatbottom. Everybody loves Mrs. Fatbottom. Mrs. Fatbottom is also a very slow lizard that cruises around out west eating flowers and cactuses. Oh, come over here, young lady. Oh. See if you can work out. Oh, look at this cute young lady. Isn't she beautiful? Oh, silly me. That's not her. That's her. Why do you think she has a head that looks like a tail and a tail that looks like a head? You see, she's not the fastest lizard around. Any predator can catch her in 5 seconds flat. So let's just say hypothetically I was a dog and I came along, yeah, beautiful breakfast, and I bit her mid-body. She would turn around with these big powerful jaws and she would give it straight back to me. But predators are normally smart enough to know that if they're going to grab breakfast by the head, then it can't fight back. But she has a tail that looks like a head, and a head that looks like a tail. So when she's in the bush doing her thing, an eagle comes along and goes, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, grabs her by the tail, and Mrs. Fatbottom goes, you know what, mate, you can have that, see you later. And she gets a chance to live another day. Now, she has really, really huge scales. This is where they get the shingleback name from. Years ago, we used to have shingles on the roof of our house, just like these. These days we've got tin and tiles. Now these guys have got lots and lots of nicknames. The pinecone lizard, the sleepy lizard, the bobtail lizard. I've heard about 100 nicknames, but the proper name is a shingleback. Now I'll put her away and we'll get the next critter out. How's that sound? Who wants to see a dragon? Me too. This young bloke that I'm about to get out is a really, really cool critter. His name is Spike. Spike is a bearded dragon. You get them all over the east coast of Australia here. These guys are a little bit different to the last couple of skinks that I brought out. Have a look. Oh, he's awake, about time. Have a look at the length of these legs. Do you think he can run fast? My word. Do you see his big toes and claws? Do you think he can run straight up a tree if he had to? And did you notice that I picked him up by the tail and he doesn't drop his tail? Because his tail is like my leg. If it comes off, ouch, and it won't grow back in a hurry. Now, Mr. Spike, the bearded dragon, is a really, really common lizard all over the east coast, even into the centre of Australia. And the reasons why he's called a bearded dragon, he's got all this loose skin underneath his chin. And if a predator comes along, he'll puff out all that skin, make himself look really big and scary, puff up his body, he'll show all those spikes on the side and all those spikes on his beard, and he'll do the do you really want to have a go thing? And that predator will go, no, it's all good, mate, I think you scared me enough, I think I'll give you a miss and try something else later on. Now, this bloke here, this colour of his body looks very similar to the colour of the dirt where he lives. During the middle, do you want to see how fast he is? With these big long legs. All right, are we ready? Okay, any of you guys out there, if anyone in the background, if he comes flying past, just grab him by the tail, and if you're wearing shorts or a skirt, he would run straight up your leg. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Why do you suppose not a whole lot's happening right now? Because where he comes from, in the middle of Australia, is either freezing cold or smoking hot. Right now is a very comfortable 23, 24 degrees for me. This guy's not ready to get out of bed until it's double this temperature, 60 degrees. So right now he's going, are you kidding me, Snake Man? Let me go to sleep. But in the middle of the day, in the middle of Australia, the ground gets to about as hot as your mum and dad's coffee. At this point, he'll climb up a tree, he'll hang onto that tree, the wind will blow through his spikes and help him cool down. He'll also get a good bird's eye view of any insects or beetles or bugs so he can run down and gobble them up. How cute is this guy? Have a look at those spikes. Believe it or not, the spikes on his side, they're soft. They're there to make him look tough, but the ones on his back are quite sharp. So any animal planning on eating him would want to have pretty sharp teeth, I think. We'll put him away. The next critter I'm about to get out is a goanna. Who here has heard of a goanna? How big do goannas get? Every time I go to a show and ask people that, everyone does these ones. But guess what? Some only grow to about this long. Some to this long, some to this long, some way longer than me. And the proper word for them is in fact monitor. But they got given the nickname goanna, which means big lizard, but go figure. Now the little fella that I'm about to get out now, his name is Jenner. He's Australia's 3rd smallest species of goanna. Now I'm going to put this on my arm because I'm an old man and my skin's getting soft, and this is a tree climbing lizard. So he's got really, really sharp claws, and if I do this all day long, by the end of the week it looks like I've had a fight with Edward Scissorhands. Now this bloke here, as I said, is Australia's 3rd smallest species of goanna. He is called a Gillen's monitor. Now you find this bloke in the centre of Queensland, on those skinny trees. On the trunks, his skin is the same colour as those trees, and he's unbelievably fast. Besides his speed and his camouflage, if you touch his skin, it feels soft like velvet, but it's in fact quite tough. So any animal that has intentions to grab this guy and eat him, they want to have some pretty sharp teeth to be able to get through his skin. Now, another thing you'll notice different about this guy, if he sits still for 5 seconds, is he's got a really long forked tongue like a snake. Well, the other lizards that we've brought out so far, they've got a tongue like you and me, a short fleshy tongue. So this guy here, he eats insects, and he'll poke out that tongue and wiggle the forks around. If there are insects in that direction, he'll pick up the smell stronger on this fork and go, well, let's go over there. Now, Australia's smallest species of goanna is only half the length of his tail. We used to use them in shows, but they are very, very shy, nervous lizard that stress too much when we use them in shows. But this particular species, the Gillen's monitor, can handle it all day long. Usually they sit still when it's cool like this because this guy likes it really, really warm. I think it's because I haven't done a show in a couple of weeks. They've all had a rest and they think that they've got the upper hand and they can run amok with me. But how cute is this little guy? This is Jenna, the Gillen's monitor. Now, years ago, I used to think to myself, I would love to bring a really, really big goanna along to my shows. There's a little bit of a problem there. Does anybody here know what the really big goannas eat? They eat meat. Well, what are we made out of? That poses a problem, doesn't it? And if I brought a really big goanna here today, most of them are climbers. They've got these big sharp claws. So if I brought a really big goanna along here today, he'd scratch you guys and you'd end up with scratches all over your arms. Like, man, I thought I can't do that to the kids. Forget about it. Hang on a sec, there is a species of goanna that lives in the middle of Queensland where there's no trees, only short shrubs. So yeah, she's got claws, but those claws are blunt. They're designed for digging. And she does eat meat. She does have sharp teeth, but she uses something else as a weapon. Now you might notice that I keep going she. The girls are nowhere near as big as the boys. And this species of goanna is not that big. To give you an idea, Alice here, the Spencer's monitor, is 2 kilos. Australia's largest species of goanna gets to 22 kilos. So they are substantially larger. Are you ready to meet Alice? By the sounds of my seat that's wobbling around there, it sounds like she wants to get out too. Good morning, or good evening, beautiful girl. This young lady here spends her time, get her foot out of that wire there, in the middle of Queensland as well. Her skin is the same colour as the dirt where she lives. Now see that really, really long tongue? Go on, young lady, see that? She uses that to help find her food. And her food is any animal that's died of old age, a rabbit that's been run over by a truck or something silly like that. She'll use that tongue to find that smell, and then she'll travel long distances and she'll clean up the mess in the bush, which is pretty cool. Now what she's doing right now is checking what's going on in the distance, because where she lives is a whole lot of nothing. So she'll regularly pop up on her back legs and stand on her back legs and look in the distance, go, like right now there's a horse up there riding around and going around, and she's going, what is that doing up there? Now in the wild where she lives, where there's a whole lot of nothing, she'll stand up on her back legs and think, oh, what's happening with the birds in the distance? There must be some food, let's go check it out. Now, her skin is the same colour as the dirt where she lives in Longreach, and if I approached her, she'd puff her body up and go, do you really want to have a go? And guess what her weapon is? See this tail? Short and thick, muscly tail, it's like a baseball bat. She'll go whack and knock you off your feet. And while you're all sitting there going, whoa, what just happened? See these muscly legs? Boom, she'd be out of here. Now, even if we were fast enough to catch her, we'd want to have some pretty sharp teeth to get through that skin, because her skin is as tough as the leather on my boots. If I bring her up here, you might be able to see the length of that tongue. Hang on, young lady, you going to do it? No, she's very restless and wanting to get moving at the moment, because she's still quite warm. In about half an hour when she cools down, she'll be really slow. Shall we put her away and find out who here is scared of snakes? Sounds like a plan to me. Now, the next part of my little talk is probably the most important part. You see, today I have brought along 3 snakes. All 3 of them are really cool. They're really friendly. They're my mates. But not all snakes are like this. Snakes don't have ears. They can't hear you coming. They spend their day or their night in the gardens and rocks away from us humans. They do not want to have any confrontation or conflict with us humans. Every now and then we bust them out in the open. They don't have arms or legs. They can't go, oi dude, stop. They can't growl or bark like a dog. All a snake can do is go, look how big I am. Do you really want to have a go? And you know what the next step is? To bite. Even if it's a harmless python, they have nearly 100 teeth, so ouch. And if it's a venomous snake, they can put you in hospital or worse. So you guys know what to do if you ever see a snake in your backyard. If you've seen a snake, you stop. You turn around and walk away and go and get an adult. You get mum and dad or a teacher and say, guys, there's a snake over there. Because then that snake's going to go, whew, my camouflage is fantastic, they didn't see me again. He'd be happy, you'd be happy, therefore us adults would be happy. So, without any further ado, I'm going to bring out a 33-year-old snake named Homer. Homer is a Stimson's python. Homer Stimson's. Now, he spends his, oh, you're about to shed your skin. He spends his nighttime hanging on rocks, waiting for any. As a matter of fact, what he normally eats in the wild is he's brown. I'll start again. Now, he spends his nighttime hanging around rocks. That's why he's brown in colour. As a matter of fact, where you'll more often than not find him is at the opening of a cave. So what other animal here in Australia comes out at night time and lives in a cave? Bats. And guess what he eats? Bats. Snakes can go a whole year without food. That's definitely not me. This guy here will hang on to the rocks, and at 6 o'clock each night, the bats will fly out. And can you see that little tongue going crazy? That's him going, is that food? Oh no, it's just Tony again. But when he does realise it's food, he'll strike and strike. Night after night, week after week, month after month, to wow, bang, one night he'll get one. He'll wrap it up tight and he'll swallow it whole. He doesn't chew his food like you and me, and he can eat 3 times his thickness. That's like us guys laying on the ground and swallowing a watermelon whole. Now another thing that little Homer's got is his heat sensing pits on his bottom jaw. He can sense 1/10 of a degree change in temperature. So he can sense the temperature of his warm-blooded dinner as they go past, so he knows what's right and what's wrong, what he can and can't eat. But how cute is he? 33 years old and he's still going strong. Shall we get a medium-sized snake out? I think so. Now this snake that I'm about to get at now is new to my shows. We have 330 reptiles here, and we rotate them. If they're about to shed their skin like this guy here is, my son packed this guy up so I didn't notice it, we use something else. If they've got a full belly or they're pregnant or they're sick, we'll use something else. Now this bloke that I'm about to bring out now, it'll be the first ever show he's ever done. What a better way to break him in and then do it here under this video. Now this guy's name is Trident. Not a very big snake, but he's not all that small either. Trident is in fact a water python. You find these guys in central Queensland. They've got the beautiful yellow belly and a really, really dark back. But guess what? I wish the sun was out right now, because if you could see the sun reflecting off his back, the most unbelievable, beautiful, vibrant rainbow colours. That's where you get the rainbow serpent from. This guy, being a water python, they spend a lot of their time hanging around a waterway, waiting for any goannas to come along, or water birds, anything at all with feathers or fur, and they'll grab it and eat it. They grow to about twice this guy's size, and they look very much like another species of snake that you get up in the top end of Australia, and often mistaken for it. But this guy here is an extremely beautiful snake, and the reasons why I like to use them is because of the colour of his skin in the sunlight. It is unreal. It's really beautiful to see. See that little tongue going in and out crazy there? Now another thing you'll notice, with Homer, he has a lot of those heat sensing pits on his bottom jaw to help sense his warm-blooded dinner. This guy does have them, but not anywhere near as many, only a few, which is an indication they don't mind eating reptiles as well. A lot of snakes don't mind eating snakes. Now I'll put this guy away. We'll get something out a little bit bigger. Now this young lady that I'm about to bring out now is 35 years old. She's Australia's second largest species of snake. Now Australia's largest species of snake apparently gets to 28 foot, 8.5 metres. I've never seen one over 5 metres. This particular young lady, they get up to 6.5 metres. Apparently, I've never seen one over 4 metres. But the really large, the largest in Australia, they're pretty cranky. The second largest that we've got here, the olive python, is quite a good natured snake. Now, although this young lady here, firstly not that young, she's 35 years old, she is not all that big. She's only 3.3 metres and 16 kilos. But she's famous. She's been on a few movies. Nims Island, Terra Nova, Reef Doctors, Sea Patrol, Totally Wild, Animal Planet, The Elixir Ad, Last Harry Potter, Second Last Big Brother, Croc-a-Moley, 3 film clips. This snake has been photographed more than Paris Hilton. She's famous. Now Calamar to the olive python, she's one of my favourite snakes. We've done a lot together. Are you ready to meet her? Come on, old girl. Oh, I'm sorry, I know you're having a good sleep. She is pretty heavy, and she's not fully grown. She's 3.3 metres. The Queenslanders are the ones that get to about 4 metres, and the ones from WA are the ones that get substantially larger. These guys hang around the rocks up north at a billabong. What a billabong is a big puddle of water, and any birds or rabbits or kangaroos that come along for a drink, you can guess what she eats. Now I feed her once every 4 or 5 months because I'm not worried about this end doing any damage to people. It's actually this end that I'm worried about, because when she goes to the loo, it's epic. So we've got to make sure that we don't feed her before going to a show, and that's the only reason why. But snakes can go up to 12 months without a feed. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? This is another snake that in the sunlight you can see beautiful colours reflecting off them, not as much as the water python, but they still have it. They can eat 3 times their girth, so you can imagine what this young lady would be able to eat. A Staffy would be in a lot of trouble. A lot of people ask, how old do snakes live? Well, I've got a few snakes here that are 35 or a little bit more. The oldest I'd ever heard of a snake go to is 38. But some of these guys are still not only going strong, they're breeding and doing everything they should be. So it's probably a testament to the way I keep them, I think. Well, that's it for the snakes. Who wants to see a crocodile? See, here in Australia, we have 2 different types of crocodile. We've got the freshwater croc and we've got the saltwater croc. Whenever I say to people in shows, what's the difference between a freshie and salty? Everybody goes, oh, one lives in freshwater, the other other lives in salt water. That's not the case. You see, they both actually live in fresh water, but the salty has the ability to go into the salt water if it has to. You see, us humans, if we go down to the beach tomorrow and we drink that beach water, it makes us sick. Salties have a gland on their tongue that gets the salt out of the water. So if you had a freshie born in a creek over here and he didn't like it, bad luck, mate, that's where you live. But if you had a salty born in the same creek and he didn't like it, he could swim all the way down the creek, into the river, and then into the ocean, all the way up to Cairns and find himself a river with heaps of barramundi and no humans. Now, a really, really big old freshie is a little bit longer than what I am tall, about 2.5 metres. They have a narrow snout and little teeth because they only have to eat little food, birds and fish and frogs and turtles. Whereas the Australian saltwater crocodile is the world's largest reptile. I can talk for hours about them. They are truly amazing animals. But we'll just touch on some of the more amazing facts. I'll get Fluffy out for you now. How's that sound? Fluffy's only 2 years old. Oh no, I haven't got Fluffy. I've got Suchos, the freshie. I'm making a fibber of myself here. I've got what croc I got out. This is a 7-year-old freshie. His name is Suchos. Now you might notice that he has a little band-aid on his nose, and the purposes of that is, although he has incredibly powerful biting pressure, as a matter of fact, the adults that have the strongest biting pressure out of any animal on the planet, up to 3,000 pounds per square inch of biting pressure. It only takes 90 to break your arm. Although they have very powerful biting pressure, they have very weak muscles when it comes to opening their jaws. So I hope that this little bit of sticky tape is going to stay on his face there. Now his eyes work beautifully at daytime and nighttime. They are crepuscular. Some animals are diurnal, which means they come in at daytime. Some are nocturnal, which means they come out at nighttime. These guys are crepuscular. Those little slits behind his eyes are his ears, so he can hear everything beautifully. And his nostrils are on the tip of his nose there, he can smell everything. So besides his sight, his perfect hearing, his perfect smell, he also has vibration sensing pits all over his body. So if Suchos was in the water and a frog was coming down for a drink, he'd be able to sense the vibrations of that frog coming down. That frog would be in a world of trouble. Now Suchos has 66 teeth that he replaces every 6 months. That's a couple of thousand sets of teeth by the time they die of old age. And watch this, although his eyes are perfect, watch what happens when I touch them. He drags them into his skull because he doesn't want his eyes to get damaged. They are very important to him. So if he's grabbing food or having a punch up, he will pull his eyes into his skull. And while we're on that subject, if he has a punch up and gets his arm ripped off, most animals would bleed to death and die. This guy here would go, oh man, that hurt. Stops the blood flow to that area and then continues on with their day, which is pretty amazing. Now, they can go a year without food. They don't get cancer, they don't get infection. They can slow their heartbeat down to 3 beats per minute or bring up to 300 beats per minute. When they're laying there waiting for food to come along and trying to conserve energy, they slow their heartbeat right down. When a feed comes along, boom, they explode into hyper mode. Now there's a few things that can kill a crocodile: the cold and myopathy. What myopathy is, if I were to run around this yard, yeah righto, if somebody else was to run right around this yard, they get a lactic acid build-up and that gives them a cramp in the leg. Lactic acid kills them. So if they exert energy and carry on, they only do it for a couple of seconds, because if they exert energy for too long, they get a lactic acid build-up and they die from that, and that's called myopathy. So that's why I always used to see Steve Irwin say, come on, let's be quick, let's hurry up. And see how he just carried on then? It'll only be for a second, because if he does it too long, he knows it'll overdo it. Now they can go a long time without food, and besides all of this, see these bones on his back there? He can be floating in a river, and the river's 20 degrees. The sun will come down and hit these little scoots that are full of bone and blood vessels. And when the sun hits them, he warms up the blood and then pumps the warm blood around his body. So the water's 20 degrees, but his body's still happily 32, which is pretty amazing. Not many animals can do that. All right, guys, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and more to the point, I hope you learned something. And I'd like to thank Mirvac and Enriching Communities, and I hope you have a good afternoon.